What if your mind was a universe? What if inside of you lived stars, galaxies, black holes, infinite power, infinite possibility, infinite energy, waiting to be awakened, waiting to explode outward and rewrite everything you thought you knew about yourself? What if the thoughts you think were not small, fleeting things, but cosmic events, echoes of divine intelligence reaching through time and space to shape reality, not just inside you, but around you? What if every fear was a false gravity, pulling you down to protect you, but also limiting you? What if breaking free required ignition, required combustion, required pressure so intense it mimicked the force of the very beginning of time, the moment everything began, the Big Bang? But this time, the bang isn't out there, in some distant galaxy. It's here, now, in you. It's that moment when you decide to stop shrinking, stop doubting, stop delaying your own expansion, because inside you lives a spark capable of setting everything in motion. And maybe that's why life has been pressing you lately. Maybe that's why the pain's been rising. Maybe that's why the silence has gotten louder. Maybe it's all been fuel collecting around that spark, waiting for the moment you decide enough is enough, and let it erupt, let it roar, let it burn through the lies and the labels and the limitations, and create a new beginning. Not just a better version of you, but a whole new universe built from there. Fragments of every failure you thought disqualified you. Because what if failure was never meant to end you, but to expand you? What if every collapse was a collapse inward, like a star on the verge of going supernova, pulling in all its mass until it explodes with new life, new light, new meaning? And what if your breakdowns were really breakthroughs in disguise? What if the void wasn't empty, but full of unseen potential, full of unseen laws working on your behalf? What if your thoughts were not random, but gravitational, pulling people, places, and ideas toward you, like planets caught in orbit around your fire? What if belief was the engine that made it all move, and you've just been feeding the wrong stars? What if you stopped feeding fear and started feeding faith? What if you stopped orbiting pain and started rotating around power? What if you stepped back far enough from your story to see the cosmic design behind every moment, every tear, every silence, every storm, and realized that none of it was wasted? None of it was random, that everything was aligning to awaken something eternal, something you forgot, something you buried, something the world told you was too much, too intense, too wild, too free. But what if that wildness was the very thing the universe needs from you? What if your untamed energy was sacred, and now it's time to unlock it, to become aware not just of your potential, but of your dimension? Because you don't just live in a universe, you are one. And the most dangerous thing you can ever do is forget that. To let yourselves be reduced to a job, a title, a trauma, a moment when you were hurt or rejected or overlooked. To shrink a galaxy into a grain of sand. But today, we reverse that collapse. Today, we expand. Today, we remember that power doesn't start when someone gives it to you. It starts when you claim it, when you remember who you are, when you ignite and expand and create from a place of infinite awareness, infinite hunger, infinite purpose. And yes, it's going to be messy. Yes, it's going to break things. Yes, it's going to cost you your comfort, your old friends, your small identity. But what you gain in return is everything. Everything they said was too much. Everything you told yourself was impossible. Everything you dreamed but were too afraid to speak out loud because that fear was an illusion, a shadow, a distortion in your orbit. But the light, the real light, the core light inside you, has always been waiting. It's been whispering, rise, awaken, burn, expand. Now is the moment. Now is the Big Bang. Not out there, but in here. Not applause or permission. It requires decision. It requires commitment. It requires faith in something you can't always explain, but feel like. A roaring in your chest, like a pressure behind your ribs, like a storm behind your eyes, ready to break and rebuild your entire life. Because the life you've lived so far was practice. But this is purpose. This is precision. This is power. Real power. Not control, not domination, not pretending. Power as presence. Power as alignment, power as expansion. And the more you believe it, the more you own it, the more the universe within responds. Planets begin to form, gravity begins to strengthen, momentum becomes inevitable. And before long, you're not just surviving, you're creating, you're commanding, you're expanding, and your whole life bends to meet you at the level of your mind. Because everything starts there. Your words, your energy, your posture, your decisions, they all begin with a single vibration, a single thought, a single belief. And when you change that, when you change the root, everything else must follow. The fruit changes, the field shifts, the force flows, and you finally begin to realize that all this time, you were never powerless. You were just disconnected from your own inner cosmos. But now you're connected. Now, you're conscious now. You're alive, and nothing can stop what's been awakened. Because you're not just a person. You're a universe in motion. And this is only the beginning. What if the darkest places in your mind were not places to avoid, but portals to power? What if the black holes you've been running from were not threats, but thresholds, gateways to the deepest transformation of your existence? What if everything you lost was gravity pulling you inward, collapsing old identities, stripping away illusions, forcing you to let go of control, not to punish you, but to help, prepare you for expansion? Because expansion requires collapse. First, it requires pressure, intensity, and silence. Silence so loud it drowns out who you used to be. So you have no choice but to listen deeper to what's always been inside of you. And yes, it hurts. Yes, it's heavy. Yes, it feels like nothing is left, and that's exactly when the breakthrough is near. Because black holes aren't just destruction, they're creation. They bend time, they bend space, they bend everything we understand. And yet, even in their darkness, they hold light. They trap light, they consume it, but they can't destroy it. And neither can your trauma, neither can your failure, neither can your fear. Because light is never lost, it is only hidden, waiting for you to reach deep enough inside your own void to find it again. And that search, that journey, that falling into the unknown, that is where you find your fire. Not the surface level kind, not the motivational quote kind, but the kind that forges warriors, that wakes up sleeping giants, that cracks open souls and says, you are not done, you are not broken, you are not hopeless, you are not lost, you are being redefined, remade, realigned, because nothing great is born in light alone. Greatness comes from facing the dark, from walking straight into the abyss, and discovering that the thing you feared most was your own power. Because power doesn't always feel like a roar. Sometimes it feels like stillness. Sometimes it feels like drowning. Sometimes it feels like dying. But you're not dying. You're transforming. You're shedding skins you no longer need, masks you can no longer wear, chains you were never meant to carry. And on the other side of that shedding is freedom. But most never reach it because they panic in the fall. They scream in the spiral. They give up right before the breakthrough because they mistake darkness for death, when it's actually rebirth, and you are not falling apart. You are falling inward, into the core of your calling, into the truth of your design, into the forge where stars are born, where character is formed, where limits are melted. And that process will demand everything from you. It will demand honesty. It will demand surrender. It will demand presence. It will demand that you stop blaming and start building, that you stop wishing and start working, that you stop waiting for light to come and become the light instead. Because black holes don't just consume, they also birth the most radiant energy in the known universe. And you are that energy, waiting to erupt, waiting to remember that the story isn't over. It's just getting deeper. That your silence isn't empty. It's sacred. It's where wisdom whispers and destiny speaks, and purpose forms language around pain until it becomes prophecy. And you realize your scars were never proof of failure. They were coordinates. They were maps. They were evidence that you kept walking, even when you couldn't see the path, that you kept climbing, even when your hands were shaking, that you kept showing up, even when your mind said quit. And that kind of resilience isn't loud. It's divine. It's universal. It's magnetic. And when you truly begin to understand it, you stop fearing the dark. You start dancing in it. You start creating in it. You start commanding it because it no longer controls you. It no longer owns you. It becomes fuel. It becomes raw energy. It becomes the reason you rise, because now you've seen the truth, that darkness doesn't diminish light, it defines it. And the deeper the dark, the brighter the spark. So don't run, don't numb, don't distract. Dive deeper, fall further. Press in past the noise, past the pain, past the ego, and into the heart of who you really are. Because in the center of your black hole is a breakthrough waiting, a power that terrifies the version of you who would rather play safe and stay small. But safety never gave you wings, and comfort never built legends. And you didn't come here to be forgotten. You came here to collapse the old and give birth to the unstoppable. And you're doing it right now, whether you feel it or not. Every breath is momentum. Every choice is creation. Every step is moving forward. Is proof that you're already rising through the gravity that tried to crush you. And now, you're not just surviving the fall. You are becoming the force, the field, the fire, and every limit that thought it had you is about to feel what happens when a soul that's been through hell remembers it was built for heaven. You're not done. You're not weak. You're not broken. You're expanding, and nothing, not even your black hole, can stop what's about to come through you now. Go get it. What if the reason it hasn't happened yet is because real power doesn't rush? What if your dreams aren't denied, they're just developing, and development takes time. Formation takes silence, and greatness takes pressure, and space, because stars don't rush. Stars take thousands, even millions of years to form in silence, in stillness, in dark corners of galaxies where no eye can see and no voice can interrupt. And maybe your life right now feels like that, like darkness, like stillness, like you're suspended in space while others move forward, while others explode, while others shine. But what if you're not behind? What if you're just becoming? And what if the time you think you've lost is actually the space being carved for your true arrival? Not the rushed version of you, not the one they expect, not the one you pretend to be, but the one who is whole, the one who is unstoppable, the one who carries light so powerful it doesn't burn out under pressure. And what if the waiting isn't wasted? What if it's weightlifting? What if it's resistance training for the soul? Building muscles in your mindset, building gravity in your presence, building mass in your influence, so that when the moment comes, you don't collapse under it, because unprepared stars implode. And maybe life is making sure you don't. Maybe every delay is divine. Maybe every detour is design. Maybe every no is a not yet, and every silence is sacred. And if you really knew who you were becoming, you'd thank the process, you'd trust the quiet, you'd respect the rhythm, and you'd stop comparing your pace to others, because you are not a candle. You are a constellation. You are not a spark. You are a system of stars. And that system is complex, it's intentional, and it will not be rushed. Because rushed, light burns fast, but real light sustains. And what's being born in you isn't hype, it's holy. It's not shallow, it's seismic. And it needs room to breathe. It needs room to stretch. And sometimes that room looks like rejection, like stillness, like empty days, like long nights. But those are not empty spaces. They are wombs for your wisdom, caves for your creativity, crucibles for your character. And if you stay faithful there, if you stay focused there, if you stay awake there, something begins to shift, not outside, but inside. Because suddenly, you're not chasing anymore, you're attracting. You're not begging anymore, you're building. You're not rushing anymore. You're realizing that timing is part of the test, and patience is part of the power, and presence is part of the prophecy. Because rushing leads to ruin, and wisdom leads to rise. And when you learn to trust, that timing isn't delay, it's design. You walk different, you breathe different, you think different. You stop panicking when things slow down, because you know that every major leap comes after alignment. That momentum without maturity will collapse you, and visibility without identity will drown you. And that's why life hasn't revealed you fully yet, because it's still rooting you, it's still refining you. And when it's ready, when you're ready, it'll be loud and unstoppable and permanent, because rushed glory fades, but rooted glory echoes. And you weren't made for a moment, you were made for a movement. And movements take time and space, and obedience to inner fire over outer noise. And that obedience is rare, but it's what makes you rare. Because anyone can hustle in the light, but few can build in the dark. Few can dig when there's no map. Few can show up when the applause is gone and the future looks quiet. But those who do, those who dare, those who decide, I will not rush, I will not shrink, I will not abort this process. They are the ones who last. They are the ones who shine for generations. They are the ones who carry not just brilliance, but balance. Not just fame, but flame. And you are one of them. If you choose it, if you trust it, if you keep walking, even when the path disappears, even when the silence gets empty, heavy, even when you have to remind yourself every hour that this is not the end. This is the edge. This is the sacred season where stars are forming. And the world may not see you yet, but heaven does. And your future does. And your legacy does. And when the time is right, not a second too early, not a second too late, you will shine. Not just to be seen, but to lead. Not just to rise, but to raise others. Not just to glow, but to guide. And when that moment comes, they will ask, "How did you get here?" And you will smile and say, "I didn't rush. I didn't quit. I didn't pretend. I trusted. I listened. I stayed. And I let the star within me take its time. And now that it's ready, nothing can stop it. Go get it." What if there were no limits on what you could do, only limits on what you believed? What if time wasn't linear? What if time was flexible? What if your mind could bend time like a wormhole, folding the past into the present, collapsing the future into now? And what if the only reason you haven't become who you were designed to be yet is because you keep thinking it's far away? What if it's not far? What if it's already inside you, waiting? Not for years, not for conditions, not for the perfect moment, but for decision. What if the right choice, the right focus, the right shift in identity is a wormhole that collapses delay and instantly transports you into the reality you've been chasing? What if wisdom is the only time machine, and the deeper you go, the faster you move, the more you learn, the more you leap, and the more you face yourself, the more you stretch space, the more you bend reality, because the universe inside your mind doesn't wait, it responds, and the frequency you live at determines the world you live in. What if reality isn't something you enter, it's something you build, and the tools are already in your hands? Your thoughts, your actions, your self-talk, your standards, your alignment. And when they match the future you claim, the future must collapse into the now. And yes, the world will call it sudden. They'll call it luck. They'll call it magic. But you'll know it was built. It was chosen. It was unlocked. And what if the struggle wasn't proof of weakness, but proof of transit? Like gravity, resisting a ship entering a new atmosphere. Because every time you shift, you face friction. Every time you grow, you trigger resistance. Every time you choose faith over fear, you shake loose an old version of you. And that version doesn't want to die. It wants to cling. It wants to delay. It wants to hold you in the orbit of your old life. But wormholes don't care about comfort. They care about coordinates. And when you lock your internal GPS on destiny, you don't drift, you jump. And that jump feels like chaos, because time bends, growth accelerates, and your old world starts collapsing behind you, like a slingshot, releasing you into velocity you didn't know you could carry. And yes, it feels like pressure. Yes, it feels like fire. Yes, it feels like confusion. But that's what evolution looks like in real time. It's not cute. It's not convenient. It's cosmic. And you are in it right now. And if you dare to believe it, if you dare to lock in, if you dare to say, "I am not waiting one more second to step into alignment," then time will obey, space will open, and the doors that used to mock you will swing wide. Because nothing can resist someone who's moving in total truth. And truth isn't just knowledge, it's embodiment. It's when your identity matches your destiny. It's when you're not saying one thing and doing another. It's when your actions prophesy your future louder than your words. And when you move like that, you collapse the weight, you bypass. The process you live in warps speed, not because you're rushing, but because you're ready. And readiness isn't perfection, it's hunger. It's purity of intent. It's fire that says, "I don't care how long it's taken. I'm claiming it now. I'm collapsing the gap. I'm folding the timeline. I'm becoming the future self who pulls miracles out of the unseen and into form. Because I've stopped seeing time as a wall and started using it as a window. And through that window, I don't just hope. I create. I speak. I build. I manifest. Because wormholes of wisdom are not theories. They are choices. Are portals disguised as hard decisions, disguised as moments you want to give up, but choose to go deeper, disguised as silence that feels like punishment, but is actually an invitation to level up, to see what others don't see, to hear what others don't hear, to hold yourself in alignment until the universe has no choice but to happens. The shift is instant. The results are visible. The acceleration is impossible to ignore. And your life becomes proof that the only thing you ever needed to do was align with your own design and trust the process that brought you to the edge. Because on the edge is where the portals open. On the edge is where the stars collapse into energy and new worlds form. And if you've been brought to the edge, it's not to break, it's to birth. And if it feels like time is running out, maybe that's the moment you learn how to master it. Not by forcing, but by flowing. Not by fighting, but by flowing. Becoming, and when you become, everything you used to wait for, everything you used to pray for, everything you used to chase, suddenly finds you. Not because it changed, but because you did. Go get it. What if the version of you that you're becoming isn't a slight improvement of who you are, but a complete eruption? What if growth isn't a step-by-step journey, but an explosion, a supernova, a violent unraveling of the old identity, followed by a cosmic rebirth into something so radiant, so powerful, so undeniable that even you barely recognize yourself? And what if the breakdowns weren't setbacks, but detonation points, signals that the old shell couldn't hold the new power and had to collapse? What if the confusion, the chaos, the pressure weren't signs you're failing, but proof you're forming a new core, a new center of gravity strong enough to hold your calling? Because stars don't evolve, they explode. They reach a point where their fuel, their purpose, their potential becomes too great for their current container, and they burst open, sending light and elements across the galaxy, creating space for new life. And maybe that's what's happening to you. Maybe that's what all this resistance, all this uncertainty, all this inner fire is about. Not destruction, but expansion. And expansion never looks clean. It looks messy. It looks violent. It looks like letting go of everything that no longer fits. And that kind of letting go is painful, because it's not just about quitting habits. It's about releasing identities. And you can't evolve and stay the same. And the universe will not let you hold both. It will demand that you burn, that you rise, that you allow what no longer serves you to dissolve. And yes, it feels like death, but it is the death of illusion, death of limitation, the death of smallness. And when you finally surrender to it, when you finally say, I will not shrink to survive, I will explode to live, everything changes. Your thoughts change, your frequency changes, your voice changes, your posture changes, because you're not playing this game anymore. You're becoming the force. You're not waiting for transformation. You are transformation in motion. And that fire in your belly, the one that kept you up at night, the one that made you restless, the one that made mediocrity unbearable, that was the signal that you're reaching critical mass, that you're at the edge of ignition. And once it begins, you can't go back, because a star that's exploded doesn't dim. It becomes immortal. It becomes legend. It becomes source. And that is what you are. Source of power, source of change, source of permission for others to burn. 2, to rise. 2, to stop hiding their light and start erupting with purpose and presence and power. And no, it won't be easy. No, it won't be clean. No, it won't be safe. But it will be worth it. Because playing safe was never the goal. Survival was never the mission. The mission is rebirth. The mission is legacy. The mission is impact that vibrates across dimensions. And that level of life demands total surrender, total focus, total commitment. Because you can't go supernova while still holding on to who you used to be. And the truth is, you're already outgrowing that version. You're already too big for their opinions, too awake for their approval, too aware to play small. And you feel it. You know it. You can't pretend anymore. You can't unsee your potential. You can't unknow your power. So stop trying to fit into spaces you were born to outgrow. Stop shrinking your language. Stop muting your truth. Stop hiding behind who you were and step fully into who you are becoming. Because when you do, you don't just change your life, you change the field around you. Your presence becomes prophetic. Your energy becomes gravitational. Your vision becomes undeniable. And people won't know what hit them. They'll just feel the pulse of something real, something rare, something radiant. And they'll be drawn to it not because it's loud, but because it's true. Because truth moves people. Truth activates people. Truth triggers and transforms. And when your life becomes truth embodied, you don't need to chase influence. You become influence. And everything that finds you from that place is pure, aligned, accelerated, and unstoppable. So yes, let it explode. Let the old version fall apart. Let the new you rise from the ashes. Not rebuilt, but reborn as a supernova of the self. Go get it. What if your breakthroughs were born through impact? What if growth didn't come from avoiding conflict, but from colliding with truth? What if every obstacle was a planetary force meant to test your trajectory, to sharpen your focus, to refine your orbit, not to stop you, but to awaken you? Because in space, galaxies don't evolve without collision. Stars don't form in silence alone. They form in chaos, in impact, in explosions that shake the cosmos. And maybe what's shaking in your life isn't a mistake. Maybe it's a collision coded into your timeline, a necessary force slamming into your comfort zone to disrupt the gravitational pull of your past. Because you can't rise if you're orbiting the wrong mass. And every time life crashes into you, it's asking a question. Do you still want this? Are you still willing to move? Are you still aligned? Are you still all in? And if the answer is yes, then the chaos isn't rejection, it's redirection. It's a portal disguised as pain. It's a launch disguised as loss. And what if instead of avoiding those moments, you embraced them, leaned in, asked, what truth am I running from? What strength am I unlocking? What frequency is this forcing me to tune into? Because every challenge is a frequency test. And the version of you who can't handle pressure can't hold power. The version of you who breaks when hit won't survive the velocity of your vision. And that's why the collisions come. Not to destroy, but to reveal. To reveal the cracks. To reveal the lies. To reveal the weight you're carrying that you were never meant to. And when you face it, when you stop hiding from it and start owning it, start speaking truth to it, start moving through it, you become a different kind of force. One that's not just moving forward, but drawing things to you, because aligned energy is magnetic. and collisions force alignment. They strip away the unnecessary. Welcome the hit to let the impact shatter the old narrative and make space for the new. Because you can't carry expansion if you're still clinging to old timelines, and timelines collapse when you collide with who you're meant to be. And the world doesn't teach you how to collide. While the world teaches you to avoid pain, avoid friction, avoid failure. But stars don't avoid. They burn, they move, they press into the dark and claim their space. And you're a star, a supermassive force of purpose and power. And you've been colliding your whole life without realizing it. Crashed through trauma, you've pushed through doubt, you've weathered betrayals, you've broken through ceilings, and you're still here, still moving, still glowing. And that glow isn't luck, it's legacy. It's proof that you don't break, you bend, you don't fold, you form. And every time life has hit you, you've alchemized the blow into momentum. And that's what makes you unstoppable. Not that you avoided impact, but that you embraced it, transformed it, allowed it to force you deeper into who you really are. And now you're no longer afraid of being hit, because you realize you are the collision, you are the impact, you are the disruption that changes everything. And when you walk like that, you don't beg for opportunities, you crash into them. You don't chase dreams, you collide with them and pull them into your gravity. Not because you're forcing, but because you've become inevitable. And people feel it. They feel the shift. They feel the weight. They feel the cosmic echo of someone who has been hit and hit again, but refuses to stop, refuses to shrink, refuses to fade. And that kind of energy cannot be ignored, cannot be silenced, cannot be slowed down, because it is cosmic, it is divine, it is destiny in motion. And you are that motion. You are that moment. And your life is the evidence that when stars collide, they don't end, they evolve. Go get it. What if the thing holding you down isn't reality, but rhythm? What if gravity isn't just physics, it's psychological? What if the weight you feel every morning isn't life crushing you, but your own mind anchoring you to patterns that no longer serve you? Because gravity in the universe pulls everything toward mass, and mass is built from belief and attention. So what if you've been giving mass to the wrong things, giving weight to doubt, giving energy to fear, giving orbit to people who don't value your light? And what if changing your gravity meant shifting your focus, shifting your faith, shifting your inner mass away from shame and into sovereignty, away from history and into destiny? Because not all gravity is yours to carry. And the most powerful realization in the universe is this: you don't have to stay where you're stuck. You don't have to stay where you've sunk. You don't have to stay where your soul is starving, because gravity is not fixed, it's chosen. And the moment you realize that, the moment you start to detach from the old story, the old orbit, the old gravitational pull that told you who you were allowed to be, you begin to rise, not by force, but by release, by letting go of the heaviness that isn't yours, the expectations that were inherited, the labels that we projected, the fears that were implanted. And when you let go of those anchors, you float, not aimlessly, but aligned. And alignment has its own gravity, a higher pull, a divine force that guides you not by pressure, but by presence, not by noise, but by knowing. And when you move from that space, everything changes, not just externally, but internally. You stop needing permission. You stop chasing validation. You stop orbiting around systems designed to keep you small because you've created your own field. Now a new center of mass built on vision and value and victory. Not the kind that shouts, but the kind that whispers. You are free. And freedom changes your frequency. It shifts how you walk, how you speak, how you think, because you're no longer dragging the weight of who you're not. And instead, you're flowing in the truth of who you've always been. And yes, the world will try to pull you back. The old life will try to reclaim you. The past will echo and call your name. But you are not required to answer. Because once you shift your gravity, you shift your destiny, and old cycles can no longer hold you. Old rooms can no longer contain you. Old fears can no longer define you. And this isn't about ignoring reality. It's about redefining it from the inside out. And every time you choose belief over bitterness, purpose over passivity, growth over guilt, you choose a new gravity. And that gravity doesn't just lift you, it lifts others. It becomes a field so strong that those near you begin to rise too. Because you've become the center, you've become the pull, you've become the new law of motion, not bound by rules that were never written for your spirit, but guided by truths that were etched into your soul, long before the world tried to weigh you down. And now that you know, now that you feel it, now that you've seen what happens when you refuse to orbit around pain and begin to center your power, you can never go back, because the cost is too high and your future too vast and your calling too loud, and gravity is no longer something that happens to you, it's something you generate. And from now on, your life will reflect that. Your posture will reflect that. Your choices will reflect that. Because the world bends to those who bend their beliefs and shape their space with fire and force and faith. And you are that force. Go, get it. What if silence wasn't emptiness? What if silence was sacred? What if the quiet places you run from are the very places where you meet your power? What if the spaces between your thoughts, the gaps between your plans, the pauses between your victories were not delays, but divine data downloads, places of deep calibration, where the noise stops and your soul speaks, where the distractions dissolve and your design emerges. Because the universe isn't just made of stars, it's made of silence, endless dark space, where nothing is heard, but everything is held. And maybe that's what you've been feeling lately. Not a lack of progress, but a cosmic pause, a sacred silence pulling you inward, asking you to slow down, not to stop moving, but to stop striving, not to stop creating, but to start listening, to listen for the voice beneath the volume, the stillness behind the storm, the whisper beneath the world's screaming. And when you listen, you begin to hear the real you, the one beyond ambition, the one beyond validation, the one beyond fear, the you who doesn't need applause to breathe, who doesn't need noise to feel worthy, who doesn't need speed to feel successful. Because that version of you has been waiting in the silence, waiting for you to stop doing and start being, waiting for you to remember that stillness is strength, that peace is power, that pausing isn't weakness, it's alignment. And every time you try to skip the silence, you skip the strategy, you miss the update, you delay the upgrade, because real downloads don't come in chaos, they come in the space between the stars, where galaxies breathe and destinies are coded. And you are a galaxy, and your breath is creation, and your stillness is signal. And when you stop fearing the quiet, you start hearing the call. And the call isn't always loud. Sometimes it comes as a pull, sometimes as an ache, sometimes as a deep knowing that says you are more than what you've built. You are more than what you've lost. You are more than what they see. And that more is unlocked when you rest. Not quit, but rest. Not stop, but reset. And in that reset, you regain your rhythm. You recover your fire. You rediscover the truth you forgot under the weight of constant doing. And you begin to remember that silence is not the enemy. It's the amplifier. It's where clarity sharpens, where courage grows, where calling roots itself. And yes, the world will tell you to keep moving, keep pushing, keep grinding. But the stars don't scream. They shine. They don't hustle. They hold. They don't fear the space between. They rest in it. And you must learn to do the same. Because you are not just a fire. You are also space. You are not just the voice. You are also the pause. And your life becomes magnetic, not when you speak louder, but when your silence speaks too. When your presence vibrates. When your peace pulls. When your stillness becomes a statement. And your stillness will speak louder than your struggle ever could. Because it says, I don't need to prove. I've already become. And from that place, you don't just create, you radiate. You don't just act, you align. You don't just move, you manifest. Because you've tapped into the truth beneath the turbulence, that your worth was never in the doing, was in the being. And that being is becoming. And that becoming is birthing. And that birth needs breath. And that breath needs space. And that space is sacred. And the silence between your thoughts is the bridge between this version of you and the next. And if you listen deeply enough, if you dare to trust the pause, if you honor the quiet like you honor the grind, something will shift, something will click, and suddenly the stars inside of you will shine, not from strain, but from surrender, not from pressure, but from peace, not from desperation, but from design. And when that happens, your presence will expand without effort, your vision will sharpen without noise, and your mission will move forward without burnout, because you have entered the silence between the stars. And in that space, you are infinite. Go get it. What if the chaos you're in isn't confusion? It's creation. What if everything that feels messy right now is not falling apart? It's forming something new, something massive, something you can't even fully see yet, because you're standing in the middle of the nebula. And nebulas aren't clean. They're not clear. They're wild. They're raw. They're untamed storms of energy birthing stars. And that's what you are right now, a swirling force of becoming, a cosmic dance between who you've been and who you're meant to be. And the in-between is loud, it's cloudy, it's violent with transformation. And you feel it, because becoming is never pretty, it's never perfect. It's pressure and paradox and purging. And yes, it's uncomfortable, but comfort never changed the world. And you weren't born for easy. You were born for evolution. And evolution looks like fire. It looks like release. It looks like losing who you were to become who you are. And you may not have language for it yet. You may not know what it's turning into. You may not see the finish line, but you can feel it. And that feeling is proof that something sacred is forming inside you. And you must protect it, because people won't understand your nebula. They'll judge what they can't see. They'll label what they don't understand. They'll try to make you explain a process that isn't even visible yet. And if you're not careful, you'll start shrinking your becoming to fit their comfort. And you'll silence your transformation to protect their opinions, and you'll abort your evolution just to make someone else feel safe. And that's not why you're here. You're here to shift. You're here to build. You're here to burn through the lies and rebuild with light. And every day you stay in the process. Every day you don't run. Every day you trust the storm, even when you don't understand it. You are expanding. You are gathering. You are forming into something unstoppable. And the truth is, no one sees the star in the nebula. No one recognizes the galaxy in the gas cloud. No one believes in the miracle before it's born. But that doesn't mean it's not coming. That doesn't mean it's not real. It means you must believe first. You must carry it first. You must hold the vision in the dark, with no map, no crowd, no validation, and walk anyway, speak anyway, build anyway, show up anyway, because that's how stars are born. In silence, in storm, in resistance, in the sacred tension of I am not there yet, but I am no longer who I was. And in that space, in that fire, in that womb of chaos, you begin to take shape, and the light begins to rise, and the pressure begins to push, and something begins to emerge. Not a copy, not a shadow, not a recycled identity, but a real one, a raw one, a radiant one. And you begin to see the patterns. You begin to recognize the meaning. And suddenly, the mess starts to make sense. And what used to confuse you begins to teach you. And what used to break you begins to build you. And you realize you were never being destroyed. You were being defined in real time by forces bitter than your past, more sacred than your pain, more infinite than your imagination. And once you see that, you stop resisting the nebula. You stop trying to skip the storm. You stop rushing the forming, and you let yourself become, because becoming can't be forced. It can only be followed. And the more you trust it, the faster it moves, the clearer it becomes. And before long, you start to feel the edges of your new self. You start to speak differently, walk differently, breathe differently. And the people who knew the old you will stare in confusion. But that's okay, because they were never meant to recognize the star. They only knew the dust, and you are no longer dust. You are destiny, and you don't owe anyone an explanation for your evolution. Your existence is the evidence. Your presence is the prophecy. Your process is the permission for others to evolve too. And that's why you must keep going, keep burning, keep stretching, keep becoming, because what's forming in you is not ordinary. It's something cosmic, and your life will not look like anyone else's. And that's the point. You were never meant to fit. You were meant to form. And the nebula is just the beginning. Go get it. What if the edge you fear isn't the end? It's the entrance. What if the line between you and your destiny isn't a wall? It's a window. And what if everything you faced up until now has been preparing you for this exact moment? The edge, the cliff, the unknown, stretching before you like a void, but calling to you like a voice. Because this is the place where universes are born. This is the moment where limits are shattered and legacies are written in real time. And yes, it feels terrifying. Yes, it feels lonely. Yes, it feels like you're about to lose everything. And that's exactly how expansion feels. Because you are not stepping into a new chapter. You are stepping into a new cosmos. And the old rules. Don't apply the old fears. Don't fit the old you can't come. And what if that's the point? What if the things that feel like they're dying are just making space for something more infinite? Because infinity can't live in limitation. And your life was never meant to be small. It was meant to be stellar. And that means choosing to walk when there's no floor, choosing to leap when there's no net, choosing to believe when there's no sign, and still knowing that the universe within you will build the path beneath your feet. Because faith doesn't wait for confirmation. Faith creates confirmation, and you've been creating for longer than you realize, building momentum with every breath, rising into your own gravity with every act of courage. And now you're here, standing on the edge of everything you've prayed for, everything you've cried for, everything you were forged for. And the edge will ask you one question. Are you ready? Not are you perfect? Not are you confident? Not do you have a plan? But are you willing to move even when it's not clear? Are you willing to trust even when it's not easy? Are you willing to become even when it costs everything? Because it will cost everything. Everything false, everything shallow, everything safe, everything small. And that's not punishment, that's purification. Because infinity cannot coexist with limitation. And if you want what's on the other side of the edge, you must release what was holding you back on this side. And that includes your fear, your doubt, your attachment to being understood, your addiction to being liked, your obsession with certainty. Because the edge doesn't need your control. It needs your surrender. It needs your fire. It needs your full embodiment. And once you leap, something ancient awakens. The path begins to form, and time bends, and energy flows, and heaven stretches to meet you halfway. Not because you forced it, but because you finally aligned with it. And when you align with infinity, fear becomes fuel, doubt becomes direction, pressure becomes power, and suddenly your life starts reflecting what your spirit has known all along. You were never meant to be ordinary. You were never meant to just survive. You were built to embody vastness. You were made to command stars. You were designed to awaken others by the way you move, not in panic, but in purpose. And when you move from the edge, something supernatural begins to shift around you. People see it, they feel it, they can't explain it, but they know they are in the presence of someone who crossed the edge and came back glowing, someone who dared to leap and came back leading. And your leap becomes legacy, your story becomes signal, your very breath becomes permission for others to stop waiting and start walking into their own edge. And that's how the infinite spreads. Not through force, but through frequency. And your frequency is rising. Your energy is expanding. And your next level isn't waiting, it's watching. It's watching to see if you will choose courage over comfort, destiny over doubt, truth over trend. And if you do, the universe will respond. Because the edge is alive. And once it sees you move with boldness, it moves with you. And you become the edge, you become the expansion, you become the energy, and your life becomes infinite. Not in theory, but in experience, and you'll look back and realize the edge wasn't the limit. It was the launch. Go get it.